For 50 days, the resurrected Jesus appeared to people of all walks of life. The stories of most of these people were lost to time, while those of a few managed to make their way through the ages in the form of family tales and legends, handed down from generation to generation. This is Mara's first encounter.
I am Mara. I came upon him early in the morning, before the sun awakens one's shadow or the sand releases its dew. Usually at this time of day the fishing boats are just beginning to make their way back to shore, leaving me free to bathe in the first light of day without being seen. Today, though, would be anything but usual. He was sitting at the edge of the water, his back to me, and I thought he must be repairing a net or unhooking his catch from a tangled line. I circled around, trying hard to be silent as the breeze, as Mother Lorna often said when telling the story of the old days when the Babylonians occupied the land from the south to the north and heroes like Judas Bar Samuel would sneak around the camps of soldiers to steal their knives as they slept. His fingers worked a thread in the flickering light of a small fire, its glow dancing across his skin like embers escaping their prison. I could not see his face, nor did I want him to see mine, and he seemed to agree, for neither tried to catch a glimpse of the other. Where is the fear? There is always fear when I come upon someone I do not know well, and even at times with some I do. His is a peacefulness, like stilled water, reflecting without seeming to be anything of itself. And even the water of the lake obeyed, keeping its distance, not lapping his sandals or licking his cloak. The aroma of roasting fig leaves drew me closer. Soon the fish wrapped inside would yield its juices to the fire, and the anticipation released a groan from the emptiness within me. I should have stayed back, but the thought of what lay hidden lured me in. It was as though the line he was twirling in his fingers was attached to a hook lodged deep in my gills.
Be careful, child.
Mother Lorna, whose spirit is always present, warned.
Remember to listen to the voice of the one who lives within you.
She was one to know gifts, even before they became known by those who possessed them. It was hers to know, and guide each to know.
Yours is a strong spirit, child, a source of wisdom and strength. Trust what visions appear to you, but remember to obey the truth within.
But the only vision I had ever had was of her, and hers was the only voice that spoke to me. At least up until that moment. He turned toward me as if in response to what I was thinking. I reacted by grabbing the pouch of my sling, seeking the assurance of the smooth round stone sitting like a baby bird waiting for its chance to fly.
Come. Come by the fire and sit.
He pats the ground with his hand, his fingers arched and lanky but dark and quick, like the legs of a scorpion upon the hot desert sand. His voice, as inviting as the aroma that teased and tormented me with the promise of freshly broiled fish. I leaned away, steadying my feet, not wanting to slip on a jagged stone or have the pebbles cause my ankle to turn, preventing me from running.
Whoa, the stone. That causes one to stumble.
The voice is not Mother Lorna this time, but it is not his either. It just is. I have nothing to offer, I said. His face slipped into the shadows as the first rays of the sun peeked over the blurred ridge of the far shore. Suddenly, a chill washed over me, as though his breath carried itself upon an icy wind yearning to tear through my shawl and cloak. I shuddered and the stone slipped from my fingers, landing somewhere out of reach. I, unable to move, began to shiver.
My child, you have wandered far?
I slipped my foot out of its sandal to grope on its own for the stone. It is not our custom to speak without. Hesitation came over me as my toes found their target and wrapped themselves around it.
Without a man to speak for you?
He lifted the cloak from his head, his hair making snake-like curls in the sunlight behind him, and I tilted my head to stay in his shadow. Clutching my shawl, I pulled it tight about my breasts, waiting for him to make the next move. I kept my eyes on him, knowing I might have little chance to grab the stone and set the sling in motion should he lunge toward me. As if hearing my thoughts and choosing to ignore them, he turned back to the fire and he dropped onto his heels. I, too, settled in, rearmed, ready. The fire had lost most of its glow to the rising sun, but I could still see the light play upon his face like dancing flames. The hairs of his beard looked like they had been dipped in wet clay. Reaching into the embers, he pulled out 2 charred leaves which he carefully unrolled, placing one on the pebbly sand before me. "What is it?"
Eat.
he said, lifting some of the white meat from what looks like a coiled, boneless serpent.
It is good.
"You are not from here." The words slipped out as if they were not mine.
I have come far, yes, but have traveled but a short distance.
He plucked more of the juicy white meat from the leaves and raised his fingers to his nose.
Ah, smell that. You don't know what you are missing.
The moaning of my insides continues unabated. "It is not permitted," I said, remembering the voices of those long since gone. "I mean, I was taught such things are not to be eaten."
And were you not taught that a young woman should not address a man alone?
He resumed eating his eel, licking the juicy goodness from his fingers.
What do they call you?
"Mora," he nodded.
Ah, like the herbs of the valley, not sweet, but with a bite to them.
He laughed and stood to face the rising sun. Bending down, he cast a long shadow over me and I suddenly felt cold again.
This day looks new, but the old ways will come to ruin very soon, and all will truly be new.
The boats that had been far off had made their way closer to shore and I could see one of the men jump into the water up to his waist. "Who are you?" I said, as the man with the fiery curls stood and walked into the water toward the risen sun. The answer would have to wait.